Welcome to Dominate, where we discuss strength and conditioning and much more. Sebastian Zarka, my man.
Here we are.
I love having you at LPS. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for all the work you've done thus far, and many more years to go, and lots of great things down the pipe. But I want to tell people who you are and what you do.
My name is Sebastian. I'm the nutritional coach at LPS. I've been here going about a year now. My background is usually in precision nutrition. I've taken functional medicine courses in the States to kind of get an understanding of the nutritional requirements that we need to be healthy. And that's scrapping all the ideologies, not getting into one subset of thinking on nutrition. It's like, what do we need to be healthy, and what are the requirements depending on the person? Is, everybody's different. So that's became a passion of mine. So I just, because I had a lot of my own health problems growing up, still have some, like with anxiety, it's a big thing for me. So I really became invested in understanding this information so I can have more control over, say, my life, because it's been one of those things that affected me growing up.
You say passion. So I met you because you want me to train you for powerlifting. So, you became one of my clients, and we started working, and I started hearing you talk about nutrition, and my background with Poliquin, and me understanding biosignature and so on and so forth. I started listening to you, and I've been taking care of the nutrition for years on my own. So I've been dealing with my athletes, and I've been comfortable with it, but it's not my number one thing to do.
Right.
And the passion that I hear coming from you when you're talking about it, that's, perked me up. Okay, passion is one thing, but you're a smart dude. You know your stuff. And a lot of the information, a lot of people you learned from was based on, I learned from them as well.
Yeah.
So that really sparked me. So that really got me really interested into what you have to say. One of the things that I know you're passionate about is people taking responsibility.
Yeah.
We had a big discussion about that.
Yeah.
And taking responsibility in terms of, hey, cook your food.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that.
As you know, we have a lot of people that we deal with that are very addicted to convenience, right? It's not just, I don't want to say they're all like that. You have people that just have extremely busy lifestyles. They don't have time to invest into cooking or to preparing their food, so they order out. But the biggest thing with ordering out is the restaurants that prepare food, they don't use good quality ingredients, especially when they cook the food, like using vegetable oils is one of the biggest problems I see with most people, is they overconsume vegetable oils. And that's one of the predictors for heart disease, dysregulated cholesterol, or your issues with your gut. And then doing that for long periods of time, you just almost become, in many ways, used to feeling like that until we show them. Like, here it is. This is how you should feel.
It's I don't mean to interrupt, but it's powerful. You're saying, because cooking my food, like I barely eat out. I don't eat out anymore, like hardly. And even if I go to a restaurant and have a good steak, I can tell the difference of me making the steak.
Right?
I can feel it. It's crazy when I started cooking more, based on your recommendation, and I got into with the, really digging in. My wife is all happy now too with COVID. I'm cooking all our, ethnic meals and so on and so forth. And I feel better. So it's not just like having my protein, having my vegetables, but the key thing is like you understanding what ingredients you are putting in the food, how you're cooking the food. And I think a lot of times that gets missed, and because I'm telling you from firsthand experience, I feel amazing.
And I see your pictures on the wall when I come in here. The way you look from those pictures to now, you're a completely different person. Mm-hmm. Like, just the way you look, it's really inspiring. Like, you are legit when somebody says, okay, I want to work with somebody, a coach that takes responsibility, and they're drinking their own Kool-Aid. You're that guy. Mm-hmm. So, and I hear the passion that you have when you talk about training. Mm-hmm. So that's why I can vibe with you really well, because I have the same thing. we identify with the information that we provide because we invest so much of our time and effort into understanding and being open to criticism and just being open to learning.
And the reason why I want to hammer home that point, because we talk, and we're talking about, we talk about every day about different athletes, their nutrition, compliance, and time. And the biggest thing, because I know how to eat well, right? I know how to lose body fat and maintain muscle and so forth. But a lot of times I'll go buy something, I'm on run, I'll go buy the right foods. But cooking your own food for me has made, and putting my own ingredients and spending the time has made a dramatic difference.
Yeah, you're taking control of your health. You're not allowing somebody else to feed you with ingredients you're not really sure about. Like that's the number one thing I tell the athletes that I start to coach is, because they look at right away, they flip it and they see how many calories, how many fats, carbs, proteins are on the back of the label. I'm like, stop looking at that. That's irrelevant in your case if you're unhealthy. You want to see the ingredients that are on that label. I want you to recognize every ingredient that's on that label. If you can recognize the ingredients, that's the base that we want to start. That's the foundation. Then later, when we understand the food that you're eating, then you can start to say, okay, well, let's look at the caloric intake of our food. Let's see what I'm taking in, what I'm burning, so on and so forth. But it's never the first approach I want to take, because most people that I see have some kind of issue. And sometimes they're unaware, and sometimes they're very aware. So taking that control of your own food is really important. And this is the way we've done it for hundreds of years. It's cooking is a very social dynamic with humans. It's you feel good when you cook something for somebody else, and it's good, and they love it. It just brings happiness to everybody. And it's a very social thing for me. And I also think that's what brings people closer together. Same with families. It's something that we've really lost, we got out of touch of. And I really want to start to, nobody's got to be a master chef, but I mean, I really want to encourage people to cook a little bit more at home, or to at least understand how to make some basic things, because it's not always a good idea to eat out. It's just, I would like people to tap back into that almost that primal kind of feeling of and satisfaction of cooking your own food.
And the reason why I'm really harping on that and really trying to draw that out from you is because it made such a huge difference to me personally, because I'm a firm believer in in applying what you believe, right, to yourself. So that's made a huge difference to me. And, when I see people, or, we talk about training, for instance, it's the foundational stuff, the hard stuff, the boring stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that works.
That's right.
And so I flip that with cooking. I'm like, or, food. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can eat like a nice, go get a burger, no bun.
Right.
And go get a burger, no bun, and grab a lettuce, and I'm good.
Yeah.
But it's not this. You don't know what's in that burger. You don't know what oil they cook that burger in, and so on and so forth. And I understand. We work with a lot of people. Everybody's busy. Everybody's running from here to there. But the importance of actually taking time to take care of yourself, feed yourself proper nutrients, and if you can't cook, or try to help find some type of family dynamic, because I have other athletes who they can't cook, but their parents get involved. Right. But ultimately, you want them to take responsibility and figure that out.
That's the biggest thing. Take responsibility. And the thing is, we have so many resources at our disposal right now. You have technology like the Instant Pot, or you have all these other tools that you can simplify your cooking and also expedite it. You have access to YouTube, which has hundreds and thousands of videos on basic stuff you can take or cook. I mean, these are resources that weren't available to people before, and yet we are spending less time cooking now than we were in the 1960s. Something like along the lines of, I believe 1960s or so, we spent an average of 60 minutes cooking. Today, it's like 26 minutes average, and those are the good families, right? The only thing is, really, when it comes to cooking, I'm not saying that's you have to start to get crazy about it, but just introduce it into your weekly routine, something, a little bit. And even even to people like my girlfriend was one of the best examples. She never cooked, right? She always ordered out. So I wanted to learn how to cook more and understand my ingredients. So I was trying to see how I can get her interested in the whole process. The first thing I told her, let's cook something that's fun. Something that tastes good, might not be good for us, but let's just do something fun. So when you start to do something fun, your brain goes, oh, this is cool. And then when you start to do it over a couple of times, and you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can try something a little bit healthier now. But just enjoy it and just find some pleasure in doing it. And then after, you can go into the segue into, okay, I got to make sure maybe I try to get some more nutritious food into me. But first step is just to try and just to do, and that's going to open up this window of other opportunities for that person.
Okay, let's change gears a little bit.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things that you encounter? I know a funny one with this kid at McDonald's. You know, you can talk about that. What are the top 3 things that you encounter with athletes that are really detrimental to their progress of performance?
This is actually kind of ironic because a lot of them are really disciplined when it comes to the gym. But the thing is, that becomes a comfort lifestyle for them because once they build out that momentum and they've been coming to the gym 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months, it's easy, right? And then I go, okay, I want you to cook. Here's a list of ingredients I want you to start to cook from. Just introduce this. It's the hardest thing they can do. They don't want to because it's a new thing. It's a new thing. They have to learn something. It deviates from the routine they have. Maybe it cuts into their time in the day. So the biggest one is to get somebody to start something new because it's very inconvenient and it involves a learning curve. So that's the first thing I would say is just the inconvenience of doing something that they normally don't do.
How do you deal with that? Sorry.
Oh, well, like for
It's hard.
It's really hard, but I try to connect on their level. So I ask them, what kind of foods do you like? What's something that makes you happy or gives you pleasure? And when I can kind of find that out, I will try to introduce recipes that I'll come up with for them to try that would appeal to their palate. And when they start to, try these things out, and they're like, oh, this is cool. Like, this tastes good. And I feel good. So I try to compromise a little bit. I try to see what I can show them or do with them that helps them get into that mindset of okay, I got to prepare more for myself. It can't be like you just got to do it because they don't. There's a lot of people, especially the younger athletes, who just check out. They don't want that. They don't want to be like. So I have to connect with them and I have to give them a little bit of an excitement, give them a spark. Once they get that spark, you just nurture that into a flame.
Gotcha.
So
what's number 2?
Number 2, challenging is besides starting it, it's consistency. They're not consistent with the program, or they don't give it as much effort as I'd like to see. So they'll be good for a week, maybe 2 weeks. But then the effort they're putting in is very low. So they're eating very basic things without trying to make it taste as good as using spices and trying things. They don't do that. So they hate it.
So you're saying the compliance is how long normally?
Compliance when we start, it varies per person. But I would say you might have a week, 2 weeks. And then they start to kind of drop off, right?
Getting back into old ways. Where they say it takes like 30 days to get into it, 30 to 45 days to get into a true habit. Yeah.
They don't do it because it's too time consuming, right? When I started, that's what it was with me. It took me like 45 minutes to an hour to make one meal. It was very time consuming. But now that I've done it for so long, I kind of know my way around like the burners and all that. I can get 2 meals ready in 20 minutes. I can get an appetizer and maybe a lunch or something. But that's all it requires is sticking to it. Just like training, you stick to it. You become more proficient. You become more efficient with your time. You get more work done. And then you can take on more. And that's the way anything is really.
And that's the point they miss. It's like people don't realize that when you need that fuel for production, you need that fuel to get that work done. Mental work, physical work, whatever it needs to be. And then you need the proper fuel. Right? You can't run a Ferrari on,
That's right.
shitty gas, right? Same thing. You want to be a monster. But, telling that story about this kid who about the McDonald's story.
Love this kid, but
This literally blow my mind.
It shows us how much we idealize certain kinds of celebrities. So one celebrity, not to name names, but the celebrity says he eats McDonald's all the time. And he performs, right? He performs, and this is what he does. And then this kid, this athlete, wants to follow in his footsteps. The guy is famous. He's a good athlete. I don't know too much about his background, but I know he's famous. So this kid wants to follow, and he's like, well, I'm following what this guy is doing because he says he eats McDonald's. And I was just like, well, hold on a minute. Well, why? Well, because he's doing it. Well, how do you feel doing it? I don't know. Do you sleep good? Not really. Do you have like digestive issues? Yeah. So why would you do that? Well, because he's doing it. So this is what drives me crazy, and it's not the kid's fault because the information's available, and it's a guy he idolizes, an athlete, but it makes me nuts because proper nutrition is a foundation that will elevate your game to the elite levels. If you don't have it, you're always going to be a little bit more disadvantaged than the guy or the girl that is doing it. Mm-hmm. So, I had to talk to him, and then I tried to show him a different way. And this different way, when he started to get off the McDonald's, he was getting withdrawals. Like he was feeling terrible. And I was like,
that's real, right?
That's real. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's a die-off. That's like you have, like his digestion has an issue with this and you have bacteria that conforms to the foods that we eat. And then when you stop eating this food that your body's used to, almost like a drug, you start to feel terrible. You get this die-off of this bad bacteria. Things start to normalize again. And he was telling me he felt awful when he was getting off of it. He was craving it. And I was like, so knowing that, doesn't that make you a little suspicious that what you're eating is actually not as good as you think it is? Mm-hmm. What kind of food makes you feel terrible when you get off of it? That sounds like drugs to me. It sounds like something that you're addicted to. Mm-hmm. So, probably not the craziest story we'll ever get. We'll probably get another crazier one down the road.
So let's go into one of my big problems is athletes not feeding themselves properly with proper nutrition to support the training. Because the problem with inflammation is huge in terms of injuries, right? Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about the negative effect inflammation has on potential injuries? Yeah. And also a little bit about if you reduce inflammation, how you can negate injuries.
Yeah. Inflammation is usually it's created from you have acute and chronic inflammation.
McDonald's.
Chronic inflammation, it's one that always happens, and if you have like a gut issue, you have a GI distress, then you are more susceptible to maybe like a chronic inflammation. This can disrupt hormones, which can affect performance. And then eventually it could lead to some kind of an injury. You're just going to try to push yourself beyond your capacity of recovery, and then something can happen. Inflammation, it will disrupt your ability to absorb nutrients. It will disrupt many biological processes in the body, which will, ultimately either give you subpar performance or, lead to something of an injury, depending on what the activity is. So I say it's like, I don't want to say inflammation is bad because chronic is. Acute, like when we train, we have acute inflammation. Say like if we train, we squat, our legs are sore, our glutes are sore. That's
you need that inflammation.
You need that because that will send a signal to your brain saying you need to grow and get stronger in those areas. You don't want to lessen that inflammation, but the one chronic from poor lifestyle choices, not sleeping, not eating correctly, that is what you want to eliminate. That's what you want to get under control.
And just to go back to that, it's just funny the biggest thing was recovery, right? Yes. Go get a jump into a cold tub and a sauna, find the fastest way to recover. And actually, an old coach told me, no, that's the worst thing you do. Mm-hmm. Let the body adapt because you're actually slowing down adaptation. I took that. I even tested it out. All right, I used to let some of my athletes after they train hard and so on forth, they would go get some type of acute recovery immediately after, and their progress was actually slower. So that was interesting.
So that's funny you say that because because they do have two different recovery methods, right? You have the cold and the hot, right? The cold recovery methods, cold thermogenesis, I believe, or cold plunges, they actually are detrimental to strength training because they're an anti-inflammatory.
Yes.
So they numb the signal from your body to your brain for you to grow.
100%.
So it's not a good thing to do if you're a strength athlete. But they do have an application for mental health. It helps mental health. It helps other things, but not the best way to recover. Heat is, on the other hand, shows that it's been supportive because when we train, we get hot, right? Our body heats up. And heat improves blood flow, improves nutrient delivery to the tissues. If I was ever going to say, if there's one thing that somebody can do, heat, saunas are better as long as you're hydrating, but definitely not exactly like you said. Stay away from the cold.
Yeah, I was huge on. I was going to get a cold tub and so on and so forth. And older, wiser coach who produced a lot of medalists told me, no, that's not a good thing to do.
That's right.
And then he broke down. Wow, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. Give me a couple of tips that you would give an athlete who's looking to, clean up their diet and just generally eat healthy so they can help their performance or even just be a healthier individual.
So I would say in context of what I see mostly, okay, eat more red meat. That's a very controversial thing. Okay? But the red meat, the kind of red meat you eat and what you eat it with makes all the difference, okay? So a lot of studies that I see on red meat are people who are already unhealthy and they're eating fast food burgers. That's their red meat. That's not the right way to do it. If you're eating a grass-fed steak or you're eating wild game or you're eating, ethically raised animals, then that's going to be more nutrient dense. They even say grass-fed, fully grass-finished beef has higher omega-3s than non-grass-fed, right? So if you're eating more of the red meat in your diet, as in context in training, you're going to be better. I would say also making sure you're taking care of your digestion. That's very important. That's your processing center. So including a fermented food into your diet. So having a little bit of kimchi or sauerkraut, and I mean small amounts. Take like a fork, get in there, a couple of forks with your protein and maybe your veg or whatever you want to have, your potatoes, and then do a little bit of sauerkraut. That's kind of like it just improves diversity of bacteria in your gut, which help you assimilate, break down, and absorb nutrients. They also create nutrients. So keep your gut healthy by including a little bit of fermented foods. Includes more red meat, quality red meat. Be mindful of how you make it. Don't make your red meat with vegetable oils. Don't eat your red meat with refined carbohydrates. This is what creates your problems, not the actual meat itself. What we want to do is we want to take an investigative approach. So if you're trying all these different diets, but not actually trying to understand where your challenges are in your health, you're going to keep chasing your tail. Like, very popular right now is like vegetarian or vegan diets. They're very popular. You have tons of documentaries on it. And I say to that is it could be a good antidote to people who have been living a very poor lifestyle, meaning they eat a lot of fast food, they don't cook for themselves, they don't get a lot of vegetables into their diet, and all of a sudden you're switching over and you're getting some vegetables into your diet that are nutrient dense. You start to feel better and you're like, oh, this is it, this is the one. And it's like you just have to find a balance of what you're doing, and you have to understand where you're at, and you have more success. So all this information without context confuses people, and it creates divisions, it creates teams, and I think that's not the right way to do it. You just have to keep an open mind when it comes to nutrition, and see what you need to be healthier. And when you can identify that, then you can become a lot more successful with what you're eating. And you're being smarter for it too. People are going to probably learn from you.
Like for me, sorry, tell me. I tried, don't eat red meat. I said, let me try. I stopped eating red meat for a while and eat more chicken. I didn't feel as good. Didn't feel as strong. Wasn't as alert.
Right.
The proof's in the pudding. And for me, when I eat a steak, I don't need to eat it with anything. I just eat a steak. I may have some vegetables with it, but I'm fine with just eating it by itself.
Right.
And that's it. And I'm actually satisfied.
And the studies show people that are active and that are consuming meat the way you are going to be healthier. Okay. People that are very inactive, they don't do a lot of exercise, no resistance training, and then they're eating burgers and they're drinking a Coke or some kind of a pop, and they're eating their fries, and they're going to go, oh, it's the red meat. You just cooked your fries in vegetable oil. You're eating it with a bun, with a refined bread, and you're drinking a pop, and you're going to tell me it's the red meat? Well, the studies that are being done are done in this way, right? It's not. They don't actually show you the individuals who are healthy or who are pursuing, a healthy lifestyle and introducing red meat into their diet. So yes, red meat is important. Getting fermented foods into your diet is important, and managing your stress is very important. And one of the ways to do that is ensuring you have good sleep patterns, because it's one of the other things I have commonly with people is they don't sleep very well because they have so much convenience at night. I'm going to watch Netflix. I'm going to binge my favorite shows. I'm going to be on my phone, my iPad, my computer. And what happens is you're actually creating inflammation by staying up late, and you're not taking responsibility for one of the most important processes in the body, and that's sleeping. You have to sleep to recover.
Hey, amen to that. I think that is huge. How would you recommend someone prepare for sleep, and how much sleep do you recommend for the average individual?
So when it comes to sleep, one of the biggest limiting factors is exposure to blue light. But I'm also seeing light in general. A lot of light exposure will limit your body.
dark room, like a bat cave.
Right. Keep it darker, light some candles. The idea is if you're looking into a screen, the blue light disrupts melatonin production. And when it disrupts your melatonin production, your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, will naturally stay elevated, which means you'll be alert.
So what are you saying with blue light? So keep your cell phone out of the room?
Keep your cell phone out of the room. There's actually blue light filters on your phone now. You can get even blue light filtering glasses to wear at night to limit blue light exposure to your eyeballs. This will disrupt, because it's our circadian rhythm. It's how the human hormones are influenced. We're very influenced by our day and night cycles. So if you have constant light, your body thinks it's still daytime, and you won't be getting good quality sleep if that's the case. So limiting your blue light exposure, not working right before bed. Usually I have a 10-3-2-1 rule. Okay, at 10 hours, you should have a space from your caffeine consumption to bedtime. There should be a 10-hour window there. You shouldn't have any caffeine 10 hours before bed. 3 hours of 3 hours you shouldn't eat before bed. Usually carbohydrates is one of the better ones, but try not to eat 3 hours.
You can eat protein or no?
Protein is okay, 3 hours, as long as it's within a 3 hour window, is fine. But eating too much before bed can disrupt your sleep pattern. So 3 hours, preferably no food before bed. 2 hours is no work. So if you are working, try not to work 2 hours before you go to bed. That can actually stimulate you, can keep you up, your stress, your adrenals elevate, and then 1 hour of blue light elimination before bed. So don't have 1 hour of blue light before bed. Again, what I do with my girlfriend, like as one example, is we'll light some candles, maybe play a board game, we'll have talk, we'll do some stuff to keep us still, engaged in some way, but not just bombard our faces with Netflix or something. Like it will become detrimental long term, and then that'll create insulin resistance. It'll create gut issues.
Oh, so when you're talking about blue light, you're not just talking about your cell phone. You're talking about TV.
Yeah, TV.
Okay,
TV,
all right.
Any electronics, like they all emit blue light. Even fluorescent light bulbs emit blue light. It's just limiting blue light and overall. Actually, one of the best things to do is to reset your whole circadian rhythm. Is go camping for like a week. Your lights from the sky.
You're talking about to a city boy here.
Yeah, you go camping, you'll be right as rain. It'll reset everything, and you won't have any more blue light exposure. But that's one of the biggest ones I see. And people that don't sleep well are also insulin resistant. So they don't handle sugars very well. So they get fat pretty easily. And that's one of those variables that has to be in play for your body to be recovering optimally and performing optimally.
So I like what you said there, because I don't think that a lot of people make that connection.
Yeah.
Because me working with a lot of clients with who ship the hardest people to actually lose body fat is shift workers who work late at night and they sleep during the day. And so, because that whole circadian rhythm and not managing carbs and all that is all disrupted. So you really emphasize the importance of sleep, because a lot of times people put the cart before the horse, where they're eating great, but their sleep is horrible.
Yeah.
If you sleep better, right, everything is easier. You're more insulin sensitive. So you burn calories easier, you burn fat faster.
You respond to sugar better. Your sugar cravings are gone, because if you don't sleep very well, what happens is, let's say if you only get a couple hours of sleep, you'll notice also your face will swell. It's good, even for the ladies, if they want to keep their face nice and slender. If you get poor quality sleep, take a picture of your face the next day. And then when you have really good sleep, take a picture. You'll notice your face is slimmer. Your cravings for sugar go up if you don't sleep very well. Why? Because when you sleep, your body actually shuttles sugar to the brain for recovery. But if you're not sleeping, that process doesn't happen. So you're craving sugar throughout the day. And then guess what? You're already sugar intolerant. So all that's just going to pack the weight on. Body fat will increase. Inflammation increases. It just becomes a cyclical cycle. It just one after the other thing just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And then you just get into this sleep deprived, brain fog, insulin resistant, gut inflammation, hormone imbalance. It just goes into this crazy thing.
Like a cascade.
Sometimes it's so much for people just to get out of that. So, sleep, emphasize it, and proper nutrition helps your sleep. If you have a healthy gut, you will sleep better. If your gut's unhealthy, you will not sleep better. So it all comes together. It all ties together in one way or another. And as long as we can take a holistic approach to your health, then you're going to be a better athlete, and you're also going to be a much healthier and happier.
I really thank you for that. Just to really emphasize that. I did a seminar with Charles Poliquin years ago, rest in peace, and that seminar regarding sleep, and I've taken it to this day. Like when I sleep, I'm pretty much in a bat cave. I do watch some blue light before I go to bed, but I try to read, just stay away. I've always remembered that, and the fact is, when I sleep better, I perform better.
Yes.
I get if I really pay attention to my sleep, everything the next day. I don't even need an alarm clock to get up. I'm just up.
Yeah. And
like this morning,
I'm easier to follow, right?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be up at 4:30. I was at 4 a.m. trying to just get a little bit more, but I just popped up, because take care of your sleep. Everything else normally follows. Right. Which is very hard, but for a lot of people, I know it is for me. But once I get that on track, the next day's better.
Yeah.
Sebastian, thank you very much, man. It was great. Love you. Keep doing what you're doing. And just keep telling people the truth, man. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Nutrition is hard work. Yeah. But if you do the hard work, it's just like training.
Yeah.
Do the hard work, you reap the results.
Correct.
You keep cutting corners, taking the easy way out, not seeing the ingredients in your food. Hey, you want to perform at your optimal level, those are the things that you have to do.
100%.
And if you can afford it, hey, hire someone.
Yes.
And if you have a team, get the family involved.
That's right.
That's the thing. Like, nutrition is key.
Yes. And just stay curious.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Ask questions. Stay curious. Don't take everything for face value. Make it a learning process.
And for strength coaches out there, I took nutrition. I still take nutrition serious. I've always taken nutrition serious.
Yeah.
It's not just training. It's what are you got to pay attention to nutrition, because that is a direct correlation to better performance, ultimate performance.
Right.
And we're in a field that things are, it's a kilo, it's a half a kilo, it's a split second.
Yes. Everything counts.
And everything counts.
Yeah.
Thank you, my man.
No problem.